This is the practice test for charts and graphs, and here we're working on problems number 6 through 8. And we're given this chart here. It says Americans use electronics 11 plus hours per day. Below is a breakdown of how long each media is used during that 11 hours. And so we have this pie chart, and it's broken down into the different pieces based on the different media that are used, and we see that we have the percent given on the outside of the chart for each of the different forms of electronic media. And then over here on the right we have the legend that tells us what each of these pieces corresponds to. For example, this darker shade with the little dots in it, little white dots, is live TV. This one here with the wavy lines is the radio, and the lighter shade is the smartphone, and so on. So we can know what each section of the part corresponds to in our legend. And so once we have an understanding of the chart, then we can go on and look at the questions. And number 6 says, what type of electronic media do Americans use the least? So we'd look through these different sections of the chart and find which is the least, and it's this one here with the straight lines, only 2%. We would go over here and find what that corresponds to in our legend, and that is the straight lines is the game console, and that would be our answer, the least media used by Americans. And then question number 7. Did Americans spend more time listening to the radio or using the internet on a PC? So we can go to our chart and we see that this section here is the radio, and the wavy lines, that is 25%, which is what I put down here. The internet, we find the internet here as these little boxes, and we see that design here is right here, and that's 10% of the day. And so which did Americans spend most time listening to or using? It was the radio at 25%. And then on number 8, the question is, if Americans used electronics for 11 hours per day, how much of this time was approximately spent listening to the radio in hours? Round your answer to the nearest hour. So we're looking for the number of hours in a day spent listening to the radio. This is a part problem, and so we are looking for the part of the day that is spent listening to the radio. And so we can use our formula for part, which is percent times the total. So 25% of the time using electronic media is spent listening to the radio. We've seen that up here. 25% of the total, which is 11 hours. So we multiply the 2 and we get 2.75 hours. And then we want to round that to the nearest hour. We want to round it at the 2 because we have a 7 next to it. The 2 goes up to 3, and the average time rounded to the nearest hour is 3 hours.